Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, where we incorporate a panoramic view of flute-related topics. I am your host, Heidi K. Begay, and this is episode 120, Tech Equipment for Remote Music Lessons, Part 1. The Flute 360 podcast and JK Media Productions are teaming up to help you with your student and professional needs. I, Heidi, offer consultation work to both music students and professionals alike. If you are a student who needs help studying for graduate pre- and post-music exams, editing a research paper, interested in flute lessons, or needs help with job applications, I am here for you. Also, I have been currently working with ministries, music publication companies, and other music professionals to help them with their online projects. Whether you need creative or social media help, I would be thrilled to work with you. My husband, Eric, has been an audio and video engineer for over 10 years and owns the JK Media Productions company. If you are someone who takes or gives music lessons via the web and need help with equipment and or setup, feel free to reach out to Eric. Lastly, he is well skilled with audio and video edits for your next creative project. Please contact us today at HeidiKBegay.com and jkproductions.media so we can get started working towards your professional goals. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Hi everyone, welcome back to another Flute 360 podcast episode. If you are new to the show, thank you for tuning in. And if you have been an avid listener in the past, thank you so much for your support. So this series is so exciting because I get to spend 5 wonderful episodes with my amazing husband, who has been an audio-video engineer for the past 15 years. So thank you so much, Eric, for being here, and I cannot wait to pick your brain.
My brain is ready to be picked.
Nice.
Be gentle.
I'm going to get probes and everything and really pick hard. So our last episode together was episode 19, and we are at 120. So it's been 100 episodes in between the last time we've talked.
Many episodes to get me back on.
Yeah, 100. I was like, I guess it's time to bring back on my husband. Oh, shoot.
Yes.
So anyways, the reason why the series has formed is because of you, the listener. We have a lot of music friends and colleagues who, within this current climate, have been asking us technical questions. And we want to make sure that this information is available to everyone, not just one email or one phone call. We just want to make sure that everyone has access to this free information. So if you have not subscribed to the Flute 360 podcast, go ahead and do that because we do not want you to miss out on the entire Series 26. So without further ado, we have spent the last, I was going to say a couple weeks, but really years honing this craft of recording. And since our current climate is asking us to have our music lessons via remote, we want to make sure that you are set up with the correct technical equipment and the know-how in order to deliver your flute lessons to your students.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's important to say that just where I'm coming from, I'm seeing the equipment that podcasters are using right now will be the exact same equipment that you might need for doing remote teaching. And that is a microphone setup, how to get that signal into the computer, how to get that sent over the internet to your students and consume that way. That way you're able to teach using some sort of video platform where you can interface with your student. And so how to do that properly, how to make it sound very good so that your teaching will go without a hitch.
Nice. And so since I do want to throw in there for the people who do know Eric, you do know that he does editing for podcasters and he just mentioned that, but he's a musician too. And since he's been married to a flutist, he knows our world. He knows flute teachers' world. He knows flute students' needs. And so he mentioned, this is the equipment that podcasters are using, which is true, but he has picked equipment that will suit the flutist's needs.
Yes, and I think we're going for simplicity's sake too. The simpler it is for you, the less hassle it is for you to set it up, the less hassle it is for you to make it work. And I think there are many directions that you can go to make something like this happen, but I was thinking more, how simple could we make it to where it's less headache? And in order to make it easy, I was just thinking simple pieces of equipment, USB this and USB that, rather than different kinds of hookups that could really confuse a person when they have to get onto teaching.
Yes, I agree. Keep it simple, smarty. Kiss. I love it. So Heidi and her quirky little sayings. Okay, so let's dive in. So before we even get to a website like Sweetwater or Amazon, before you even buy equipment, let's take a step back and we are going to look at your connection, your internet connection, the modem, the router, all of that jazz. So let's start there, Eric.
Yes, it's very important to have a very strong, robust internet connection. And so your internet provider might have several tiers of internet. And so you might want to look into what you have and maybe opt for the medium or the best. And I think something within the range of 100 megabits download to maybe 25 to maybe 50 megabits upload, because it's very important to have a very strong, robust download speed, because that's the video sent to you over the internet. And then your upload speeds have to be very good too, because that's your signal going up. So you want to make sure that your upload speeds are very strong as well. And sometimes some internet providers have a matching internet. And I think maybe that's more so the fiber optic type of service. So they usually match the download speed, meaning 100 megabits download and maybe 100 megabits upload.
Okay.
And so I believe that's one of the best that they offer. And I think Frontier is one of those internet providers that do provide that kind of service. Verizon, I believe, offer fiber optic connection. I'm not saying that cable connection is bad. I mean, you can still get away with really good quality on cable internet. But that's just something to look into, something to look at your internet service and see what you have. As far as your service that you're getting, the next thing I think that's very important is your modem. You might have cable internet and the modem will be provided through your internet provider service. And they usually provide you with something that is going to be upgradable on their service package side. You might just want to look at it and see what kind of modem you have, see if it's compatible with providing you with strong internet. Along with that is your router, which does give you your Wi-Fi signal. And your Wi-Fi signal is very important too. You want to make sure that your Wi-Fi is sent through these different bands that are almost standard on every computer that's since like 2010, 2011, which is the 802.11 G, N, A, and AC. And so these are very strong internet bands. You just want to make sure that your internet router works on all these bands, maybe the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5.0 gigahertz frequencies, and just make sure and look at that and say, okay, well, my strong internet work really well with this. So it's really important to look at the router and the modem to make sure that your internet service is going to handle that.
What you're asking it to do.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So it's just one thing to keep an eye on. And you might have a very good internet service, but if the hardware is not matching that, you might want to look into it and make sure that it's robust enough to handle that.
Cool. Yeah. We don't want anyone pulling out their hair.
Exactly.
if it's not necessary. So going back to these megabits and gigahertz and all this jazz, what do I do if I have no clue that my service and my equipment is matching what you just stated? How can I figure out this information that I'm actually adhering to your suggestions?
Yeah, so you can always just Google the model number on your router and your modem, or maybe call your internet provider and say, this is the package I want. Well, this handle it.
Okay.
And then the technical support will let you know if it will work.
Okay, so the customer service through Spectrum or Verizon will know exactly the lingo I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So before we get into the next piece of equipment, can you mention how if I'm teaching a flute lesson in the studio and you are uploading or downloading these files for your podcast clients, can you talk about how that could possibly affect my connection to my students and not having too many family members using the internet at the same time?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, depending on how robust your internet is, if you have something happening in the background, let's say in the living room, you have your husband, your child, somebody who's being entertained by Netflix, Hulu, whatever you. And that is actually eating up the bandwidth that you have going into your side of things too. So you want to make sure that maybe that shouldn't happen as you're giving a lesson. Maybe they can run off of LTE or something as you're doing that if they need to be on the internet. So it's just another thing to think about when you're doing that. How much bandwidth is dedicated to just my lesson at the moment?
Mm. So if for some reason you cannot avoid another family member being on the internet at the same time because he or she is taking a class through school or he or she is working from home just like you are, a solution to this problem would be to get a better service, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes it's unavoidable.
Yep.
Okay.
So the better your internet service is, the better your download speeds are, the better your upload speeds are. You could have that stuff kind of happening in the background and it won't hurt your video conference, your video remote lessons.
Okay.
So, but if you have a very, very basic internet, let's say 25 megabits download and barely like 10 megabits upload, you're going to have some trouble with synchronization across the internet with your student.
Okay. Cool. So what about Ethernet cable? Would that help my connection?
No, definitely. Yes. That's one thing I forgot to mention is being hardwired in directly into the actual cable modem is going to give you the best results.
Okay.
So I know that most computers, they used to have the Ethernet port, but they don't make them like that anymore. You have to buy a dongle for that. Now, it's a USB dongle that converts from Ethernet to USB that plugs into your computer. You may want to buy one of those and plug directly into your modem. And so they offer very, very lengthy Ethernet cables that will plug right in directly into your modem. So if your modem is, let's say, 15 feet, 20 feet away from where you're going to give lessons, you might want to invest into a long Ethernet cable to do that. So, and if it's in a whole different room, I would just say make sure that your Wi-Fi is working strong. And you can also run speed tests with applications to see what kind of speed you're getting. And if it's, you're getting very good, strong speeds, let's say with 100 megabits download, you're coming close to what your service provider says you should have, then you should have no trouble getting that.
Okay. So you mentioned an app where I can test the speed of my internet. Is this applicable to PC and Mac users?
Yes, it should be. Okay. Even if you're not familiar with the apps, you could always just Google speed tests.
Okay.
And then I think Google has one kind of built into their web browser, or they have a link to one where you can just run a speed test right through your browser and it'll give you the stats on your internet speeds. But there are some that are provided through iOS and I believe also Android. Okay. And I think the one I use the most is it's called Speed Test and it's by, I don't know the company, but I want to say it's called Ookla.
Okay. Ookla.
Yeah.
That's a fun name.
Yeah, I don't know the company, but they do a very good job. And it's also a desktop app too, just in case you want to put it on your desktop computer.
Speed test apps remind me of Greece. So when we were hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb, Eric would always, the first thing he would do is take out his speed test app and say, I have to check my connection. And he'd go, oh my gosh, the upload speeds are horrible, but the download speeds are really good. And so in order for him to get the correct internet connection for the work that he was doing for the day, sometimes he just did not have the patience because the upload speeds were too slow. So we'd have to walk a mile to our favorite cafe. And you would go,
Coffee Island.
Oh, Coffee Island, yeah. They had some good logos using the coffee bean with this tropical fruit. It was very catchy.
Yeah.
But he'd go, oh my gosh, I have to go to our favorite cafe because they have really good upload speeds.
Yep.
So it does make a difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if your income is dependent on your internet, you'll do everything to make sure that you have a good connection or you know where to find it.
Yeah.
Kind of like a watering hole.
Yeah. I love it. Oh, shoot. So now we kind of dabbled with, computers, Mac, PC. So the software and the equipment that's out there for computers, everything from like 2011 and up should be good to go for handling everything that we've mentioned thus far.
Yes. Right now, I'm still squeaking on a MacBook Pro from 2015. My iMac that I sold was from 2011, and that was still kicking pretty good, but I just got rid of it because it was too old. The OS only handled so much after a point. So after 2011, the software operating systems had totally changed since then, and a lot of legacy software didn't work with it anymore.
So basically, what I'm taking from that is, again, you could be doing all the right things with internet, your connection, your modem, your router, everything we just mentioned. But if you're running on something that's like 2010 below and you're pulling out your hair and super frustrated, again, maybe the software and the connection is not syncing up where they're compatible with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you always want to make sure you keep your computer updated.
Okay.
Make sure you're always running all your updates. Even if you're using Skype, if your browser needs to be updated, if your operating system needs to be updated, make sure you're always tip-top on all that, because all that really does play a role in your software programs and how that is connected to the internet.
Okay. So whether I use Zoom or Skype for my music lesson, you suggest to download the app and make sure that you're actually running your lessons through the downloaded app rather than running it through the browser.
Yes, I think that the app makers actually dedicate that to that particular software.
Okay.
So if you're connecting if you have any audio connections, that'll ensure that those things are connected. They don't default to the computer. Sometimes they save your connection within the app cache so that when you plug in your microphone the next time or however you're connected to it, it remembers all that. And so when you open it, it kind of just automatically connects to how you've had it set up.
Okay, cool. So the reason why I even bring up Skype, I know a lot of music teachers love Zoom because you get to, share your screen. And those features, may not be there for Skype. But I'm hearing a lot of my music colleagues mention that they really like the sound quality of Skype over Zoom. So no matter which one you decide to use, just make sure you download the app. If you do decide to use Skype, there is an Ecamm recorder, and it's for $40. You can record the lesson, and I know that this is a feature already built into Zoom. And this feature is really nice for me as a teacher because if my lesson is being recorded for that, 30 minutes or an hour, I get to send that recording file right to my student and they can listen back to their playing. They can be reminded of certain pedagogical elements that we've discussed during that time. So that's something that you can use as a teacher to help your student progress throughout the week. Cool. So is there anything in that realm, Eric, about connection software apps that you want to relay before we move on to the big second point?
No, I think you covered it. Again, Ecamm call recorder is just an extension piece of software that works with Skype. So when you launch Skype, this little call recording box interface will pop up with Skype. And then if you start a call, you have the option to hit that red button to record the call in a video format or an audio format. And so that's a good way to save your call and maybe send to your student as something that you don't have to repeat to your student, and they have something in their library that they can always go back to. And I think it's a very nice piece of software that can be attached to Skype. Like you mentioned too, Zoom has this kind of built into their platform already where they can record the call and that can be shared. So that was covered very well.
Cool. So if any of this, if you need help, consultation help, we can hop onto like a 30-minute or an hour call with you, totally free of charge. If you have some very specific questions about your connection or everything we just mentioned, feel free to message us, and I will provide in the show notes our email addresses. So moving on to this next big bubble, we're going to talk about microphones, boom arms, cables, interfaces. So again, we're going to keep it simple, smarty, and make it the easiest hookup for you as possible so you don't feel overwhelmed. So let's start with microphones. Why would I want to invest, Eric, into a microphone that's an external microphone as opposed to my internal microphone provided through my computer?
Yes, definitely. So the reason why you would want to invest in an external microphone is to get a better quality sound. If you want to make a business out of this, you want to make sure that you're giving the clearest audio back to your student. And so investing in a external mic will get you right up close, get that mic right in the proper position, right in front of your mouth, so that they hear every word you are speaking, that every word is intelligible. That is why it's important. And the quality of default mics on the computer are just not that great. They're designed for the voice, but not designed for maybe reeling an instrument sound over the internet too. Although there are some limitations with an external microphone, this will be better translated playing an instrument to an external mic rather than the built-in microphone on your computer.
Okay. And I really like what you said about if you are making this your business, then you need to invest. And that is so true. Like, in order to make money, you have to spend money. And so if you are wanting your student to keep coming back for retention, or you are trying to recruit new students, if you have a really viable business via remote and you are able to, bring in that continuous money stream, why not, invest in this business in order to make it run smoothly?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Cool. So you have two microphones that are your top two picks for USB microphones that are cost effective, that are going to give us a really good speaking sound, a really good flute sound. And what are those two USB microphones?
The one I'm thinking of right now, and one I'm seeing that's very popular in all kinds of situations, is the ATR 2100, the Audio Technica 2100. It's a USB microphone. It is also an XLR microphone. So what I'm talking about is, if you want to, for simplicity's sake, it's the microphone that kind of looks like an ice cream cone. Looks like a little tapered cone with a little ball on top. That's what it looks like. And on the bottom of that microphone, it has a USB input and it has a little volume knob where you plug in your headphones that lets you listen to what you're recording or also listen to your remote call.
Okay.
So it interfaces on your computer through USB.
Cool.
And it's a very simple microphone. It's a dynamic microphone. It's not too sensitive.
Okay.
And it will help with not recording the background noises too. So it's not overly sensitive, but it's right in that sweet spot where it'll pick up your voice very nicely And if you're playing an instrument, you can always step maybe a couple of feet back and play your instrument into it. Should still relay very smoothly and sweetly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and us flutists, we want a sweet, round, full sound.
Yes, exactly. And another one that I'm seeing on the market that's becoming pretty popular is the Samson Q2U, the Samson Q2U. And it is comparable to the ATR 2100. Very similar features, similar setup. It is a USB and XLR microphone too. And I'm putting my money on that one as well, just because
it has similar qualities.
Similar qualities to the ATR 2100.
And about the same price.
Roughly the same price. Now, depending on where you buy it, you might pay $69 up to $100.
Okay.
And I think the ones that are priced in the $100 range, they have a kit. Okay. And the kit includes a cable and maybe a small little tabletop microphone stand.
Okay, cool. So with both microphones, you recommend having a foam cover. Why?
Yes, the foam cover for the speaking voice will help a thing called plosives. Plosives are the puff of air coming from your mouth that somehow get into the pickup of the microphone and cause a bassy pop sound.
Like when you just said plosives just now, that P just popped in my ear really bad.
Yeah, plosive. And that's just the air hitting the pickup in the mic.
Okay.
And it distorts the sound.
Okay, so the foam cover is going to help with that. Yep. Cool. So you have a third pick, and it's a little bit more expensive. But again, if this is, per your budget, if this is something that you want to invest in, you recommend the Blue Yeti.
Yeah, there's different models of the Blue Yeti that's out there. The company's called Blue, and they make a whole range of microphones. And this one in particular is a USB microphone. It's built with a stand built into it. So it's designed to sit on your desk. And I even think it has like rubber feet to keep, shock. So if you bump the table, that will kind of dampen the sound going into the microphone. So there's different models. It's even designed to even be put on a microphone boom stand or some sort of articulating mic spring stand that you can attach to your desk so you can move it into place.
Okay.
But it's a condenser microphone. It uses power. So when you plug it into the USB, it's getting power from your computer. It's being powered up. The thing about these microphones, they sound really great. They're probably brighter than the dynamic microphone, the ATR 2100. And because of that, it might be favorable to flute sounds, but might not be favorable in the high frequency sounds because they're built very well and they sound very good. So it's just a matter of maybe adjusting the volume, maybe just being conscientious of how you're playing into the mic.
Okay.
Maybe you would want to turn away, maybe stand further back so you don't get too much of the bright sounds into it.
So it might be a little sensitive for flute in the third octave.
Yes, exactly. And even breaths.
Okay.
So it's very sensitive. I remember using a lot of condenser microphones, and I think every condenser microphone has this where when you're breathing in through your nostrils, it almost sounds like a whistle. So, and I mean, that kind of stuff can be helped with adjusting the volume, the input volume from the microphone. Just adjusting those things will help it. I mean, there are a lot of great microphones out there. These are just a few of the name brand ones that I'm naming off. There are microphones from Shure. There are microphones from Samson. There's all kinds of name brand microphones out there. And any one of those could sound really good. It's just really how you are using the microphone that will make a big difference in how you sound to your student and how you want to sound. So you might not go wrong with buying something from Amazon that does not have a name brand, but it's just really how are you using that microphone.
Okay.
But I'm sticking to these brands just because they've been proven in the industry to be very usable friendly.
They've been proven to have a good track record.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. And you mentioned the setup is so vital, and I'm glad he mentioned that because that's a little teaser for episode 121. So next Saturday, tune in for that information on the setup between you, the microphone, the flute, all of that. So we're going to get into those details next week. So you mentioned, Eric, a microphone tabletop stand and a boom arm. Can you please tell us what those are a little bit more in detail?
Okay, the tabletop microphone stands, they're very short. They're probably like 10 inches. They have a little tripod at the bottom. They can sit right on top of your desk. And you put your microphone in place and you don't have to handle the mic. And handling the mic can cause some issues too in sound, because if you're holding the microphone, how you're gripping that microphone can make some sounds that can go into the microphone and also cause unintelligibility with your voice. So not handling the microphone, just putting the microphone in front of you will really help with your sound and also your playing, so you don't have to handle the microphone.
Well, and as flute teachers, there's no way I can pick up to demonstrate, put it down, pick it up to talk. I just need it to be stable.
Yep. And so there are also boom arms that you can attach to your desk, and these are spring loaded. And so what you do is they clamp down to your desktop, and you can also put your microphone in the microphone holder at the end of that, or on your USB cable into your computer, and you're able to articulate that microphone and put it into position. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting and you're talking about a concept to your student, that microphone can be almost out of place, or it's not in view, but right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And if you need to stand, you can also stand up and then push that microphone into place where you can be heard speaking and playing as well. And you can also push that microphone back down into place when you need to sit back down and talk to your student again.
Yeah. In our last home in Keller, we had a nice studio set up, and we had a boom arm attached to the desk. And I totally agree. If I did not have you in my life to show me that, I would have been missing out on a really neat piece of equipment, because it just it would swivel. I could swivel it up and stand and step a little bit further back and demonstrate posture, standing up, and then I can swivel it back down to go back into speaking mode. And it was just a very handy tool. Yeah, so if I didn't have you recommending that, I would have never known about it.
It just helps make things easier for you. Mm-hmm. Not having to worry about that is going to take a lot off your mind and just focus on teaching.
Cool. So how much usually is a boom arm?
You can look on Amazon. There are many, many types on there. I think I found some for about $25.
Okay.
And you just have to be careful with them too. Just look at the reviews. Some of the better ones are made by Samson and Rode. Okay. And of course, those are going to be more expensive and probably last longer.
Okay. But something like $25 is going to be totally adequate for what I'm doing with a music remote studio.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And if you don't want to dump a lot of money into it, but you do want to have this, it is something that you can buy for about $25, $30 and attach it to your desk, and it'd be one less headache that you have.
Okay. So going back to these different microphones, you mentioned USB and XLR. So you talked about the ATR 2100, the Samson Q2U, the Blue Yeti. So why would I want to even consider an XLR setup versus a USB setup?
Okay, this one is particularly good idea because let's say you already do own some microphones. Let's say you own a XLR microphone, which is, like I mentioned earlier, the ice cream cone shape type of microphone, a little cone with the ball on top, but it doesn't have a USB connection. It has an XLR, which is, if you look at the bottom of that microphone, there's 3 pins in there. And so that's an XLR connection. What we know is like the regular microphone cable.
Yeah, just like this one. It just looks like you said an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
I never thought of it like that before.
You're using an SM58. I'm on an SM57.
This is Shure.
Yeah, they're both Shure microphones. They're both dynamic microphones. They're both XLR microphones.
Okay.
But they connect with what we call just a regular XLR microphone cable.
Okay.
And it's going into an audio interface. It's an XLR audio interface, meaning that we can connect the microphone cable directly into that box.
Okay.
And it converts that signal into a USB signal, a digital signal, and then you plug that into your computer.
Okay.
But the beauty about this one is we're able to use two mics at the exact same time.
Okay.
We're recording two microphones at the exact same time. So we're able to control the volume on that too. It has what they call a preamp, meaning both microphones have their own volume settings that we can
dabble with,
yes.
So why, as a flute teacher, why would I want to consider an XLR setup?
I think because if you want to have two different positions and you want to have a speaking microphone that's close to your computer and maybe in front of your webcam so that's your teaching position where you're speaking about a concept to your student. But let's say that you wanted to stand back and show your posture, especially with flute playing.
Head to toe.
I've always heard you say your posture, the way you hold your flute and the way you hold your body is very important as well. That's also a part of your flute playing. Mm-hmm. So you can also stand back further away and get in a different frame on your webcam and show your posture. But there at that position, you could have a microphone set up that's further away and you'll be able to speak into that microphone as well. And it would just be a matter of turning the volume up before you move to that microphone while turning the one that's in that closer position down.
Okay. Cool. So thanks so much for giving us the distinction between USB and XLR microphones. That really helps for me to envision what I could use for my studio versus maybe, another setup for Jane Doe's studio. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to have different needs.
Yes.
Cool. So again, going back to a really important gold nugget that Eric mentioned, you can have all of the equipment in the world. You can spend thousands of dollars on top brand microphones and interfaces and the like, but if you don't know how to set it up, then it's not going to get you too far. And we have so many clients that will call us and say, I have a $1,000 microphone and it sounds like junk. And so that tells us that, it may not be the equipment, it may be user error. And we have so many clients calling us and saying, what the heck is wrong with my microphone? I invested a lot of money. Well, the funny thing is, a lot of times we don't even think it could be the setup. So we want to make sure that you have the right know-how in order to set up this equipment properly. So check out episode 121 next week. And a really good example of this is a Flute 360 listener called in last week and said, hey, I have this Zoom microphone. It's not doing what I want it to do. Do I have to upgrade? And we looked at it and it was a $300 microphone. It was a beautiful piece of equipment.
Yeah, it was a video recorder / microphone.
Yeah.
Combination.
Yeah, it was like a good $300. Mm-hmm. And so Zoom has a great name in the industry. And we thought, okay, before we have you buying another $300 microphone, let's see what you're doing. And so we took this Flute 360 podcast listener step by step and how to set up your body with the flute to the equipment, the height, the distance, all of that. She tried it, experimented with this different setup, called back and said, oh my goodness, it made a difference between night and day. Mm-hmm. And so we really need to make sure that we're honing in on this little nugget for you because, again, we want you to have all the facts and not just some of the facts. So check out episode 121 next Saturday for that information. But before we sign off, we have some picks for today. So what are your picks, Eric J. Begay?
My pick for today and every day are Paqui ghost pepper chips.
Ooh. You do like things that are hot.
Yes, but this is good. I mean, this is good in a way where you can only handle eating about 5 pieces of them.
Okay.
Before so you're like, okay, I need water and maybe I should stop.
But you never stop though. You just keep going.
Yeah, I probably eat more than I probably eat a good quarter of the bag before I'm like, okay, I need to really stop because these days, the older I'm getting, I start getting hiccups when I eat something very spicy.
It's not just hiccups. It's like old man sounds. He'll just be in the other room like,
But those are my favorite. And every time I go to Sprouts, I pick up a bag of Paqui and ghost pepper chips.
Yeah, and you just tried Salsa Verde the other day, and you were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I am. I still am.
Yeah, nice. Any other picks?
I don't think I have any more picks.
That's what you're picking. You're picking up your chips.
Yep.
Cool. So I have 2 picks. As you know, about 90 plus days ago, I went vegan, and I have decided to continue this path. I had an egg last week because I thought I needed meat, and I had the worst heart palpitations. So I am officially, for now, vegan, and I will take it day by day. I say this because I have 2 vegan food picks, but anyone can eat them or drink them. My first is grapefruit juice. Of course, get the organic and just the pure juice from a grapefruit. Don't get the ocean spray that adds in all that sugar because that's not good for you anymore. My second pick is kale. I have been just devouring kale. I love it. I just get a craving for it, and it is oh so good. So those are my 2 picks. And before we wrap up, we have our pick.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So our pick is the Netflix TV show Alone. It is so good.
All by myself.
It is a survival show where they take 10 contestants and throw them out into the wilderness, and they basically wait to see who goes the longest, and whoever goes the longest out in the wild wins $500,000.
It's probably been out there for a while. We just don't watch Netflix enough to even come across these kind of things, but when we did, we were glued.
Yeah. It was glued so much that we signed up for a free trial of Hulu to get other seasons that Hulu had available versus Netflix. Netflix just has season 6, but Hulu has like 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yes.
So we subscribed to the free Hulu in order to access the other seasons because we loved it so much.
That's right.
Yeah. I want to learn how to build my own fire now by myself after seeing these people do it, episode to episode.
I wouldn't trust you with anything that remotely can start a fire.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I see how it is. Cool. Well, we hope that you enjoyed today's content. If you have any questions, like I mentioned earlier, we would be more than happy to hop on a call and help you with your specific studio needs. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.
Bye-bye.
Today's sponsor is brought to you by J&K Productions. Did you know that not only are they a production company for podcasts, but they are a recording company for musicians? Any musical recording needs that you may have, J&K Productions can fulfill that need. They have all the necessary equipment and expertise to record your next flute recording for college or graduate auditions, competitions, summer festivals, or a flute album. J&K Productions can record any setup imaginable, from solo flute, small chamber, flute and piano, and much more. Consider J&K Productions for your next recording project. Contact them at jkproductions.media. Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. For more information, please visit HeidiKBegay.com. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review in the iTunes store. Let's talk about flute.